Namaskar. Today we discuss a very interesting topic from Sri Aurobindo's Savitri. A topic on what Savitri means in terms of its composition. Whenever we write poetry, whenever we do a work of art, we do it with the purpose of expressing ourselves, expressing our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, or our ideas. Some pent up anger, or something that is very close to our heart. So, poetry or any work of art becomes a means to express what we feel or think. Yes, sometimes we also write or sometimes we also experiment while creating a work of art. It is like a rough thing that we do before we actually launch upon the final aspect of our art. But when Sri Aurobindo was asked why he wrote Savitri, he writes very categorically in a letter in 1936, and I read, I used Savitri as a means of ascension. I began with it on a certain mental level. Each time I could reach a higher level, I rewrote from that level. Now, when we rewrite any work or any article or any paper, research paper, we rewrite it from the view that I found more information and so I am rewriting it. My ideas have widened and thereby I am rewriting it. But here was Sri Aurobindo, who writes that he was experimenting. Let me read it. In fact, Savitri has not been regarded by me as a poem to be written and finished, but as a field of experimentation to see how far poetry could be written from one's own yogic consciousness and how far that could be made creative. Now, this is very interesting that Sri Aurobindo used Savitri, one, as a means of ascension, two, as a means of as a delivery of his yogic consciousness, as a tool to deliver his yogic consciousness. Now that is what we need to understand, that when he says I used it as a means of ascension, he writes in another letter, and I read, the poem was originally written from a lower level, a mixture perhaps of the inner mind, psychic, poetic intelligence, sublimized vital. Afterwards, with the higher mind, often illumined and intuitivized, intervening. Most of the stuff of the book is new, or else the old is so altered as to be no more what it was. Towards the end of the letter he writes, as it now stands, there is a general overmind influence. So we see here a very unique reason why Sri Aurobindo rewrote Savitri. He also writes in one of his letters that it is not that he rewrote because he found anything imperfect there. He says perhaps when he wrote from a particular level of mind, say from a mental consciousness or from a psychic consciousness, he said the phrases, the words, all that he received, all that he wrote was perfect for that level. But he was not satisfied with one level of perfection. He wanted to move from perfection to perfection. And so, from a perfected higher level of consciousness, say from higher mind, he went on to the intuitive, as he says, illumined and intuitivized minds intervening. So he kept on ascending those levels of consciousness. He wrote Savitri, and he ascended and he wrote Savitri. And so Savitri became his diary, or it became a landmark, a milestone, or a reference point, so that every time he goes back to Savitri or he went back to Savitri, he saw that he had reached a certain level of mind and he could rewrite. But now we have to understand one thing, that his going from one level to the other, it is not that he was just doing it when he was writing Savitri after 1926. He had already transcended those levels in his consciousness much earlier. But what here perhaps he was doing it, he would rise to a certain level of consciousness, perhaps he would station himself there, and from there he would try to write poetry, because he indeed said that it is very difficult to remain on those higher planes of consciousness constantly, and also to bring down poetry from that higher level. So possibly his entire attempt when he was writing and rewriting Savitri was as if the whole of Savitri should be from the higher mind, not that one or two lines come from a higher level of consciousness and the remaining becomes mundane, as it happened with the earlier poets. And that's how we have from Sri Aurobindo's own writings, his own letters, his own correspondences with disciples, when he speaks about one particular line, say the line from John Keats, the English poem, which says, "Beauty is truth, truth beauty." Now this has the overmind influence, but this is only one line in the entire poem. But this line stands out. Whether we read the whole poem or not, this line stands out. So what Sri Aurobindo has done is he has made every line that powerful by ascending into consciousness. So there is nothing mundane there. There are different levels of consciousness in Savitri also, today also. But he says today it has a general overmind influence. So Sri Aurobindo's attempt was, when he says I was experimenting how far the yogic consciousness could be expressed in poetry, obviously it means that he was trying to see if a yogic consciousness that is of a higher mind or of an intuition or illumined mind, if that could be brought in and be sustained as an inspiration in the work of art or in poetry. So that sustained inspiration is what was important, because streaks of inspiration certainly a lot of poets have received, but a sustained inspiration is very rare, except for works like the Rig Veda, Upanishad and the Gita. There has been no sustained inspirations. So Sri Aurobindo was giving us, perhaps as an experiment, as an example, as a sample of what it means to write through one's own yogic consciousness. And therefore it becomes very extremely interesting for us to see that we also perhaps can practice, we also can learn from this kind of an exercise that Sri Aurobindo himself did. We can also, whenever we sit to write poetry, we can try, and this is not impossible, in terms that Sri Aurobindo himself has had disciples whose poetry, the poetry they used to write were very mundane, or they were not even poets, were least interested to write poetry. But then he inspired them, he told them to write, he would correct their poems, and he would say, yes, you did catch something of a higher mind, you did catch something of the illumined mind. And likewise he kept on encouraging them, finding out lines which had come from the illumined or the intuitive or the overmind, and thus he made those people who were not even capable of writing poetry, write poetry, and then write from a higher level of consciousness if possible. So this is not an impossible practice that Sri Aurobindo has set in front of us. Having said that, an important aspect where Sri Aurobindo says here that he also wanted to see how poetry could be made creative. So one is the process of poetic creation, where he wanted to express his poetic consciousness, yogic consciousness, and the other is the aspect from which the reader or the listener would receive it or benefit from it. That is, how could it be made creative? Creative poetry in the traditional Indian understanding, we would say a creative word or a creative poetry is one that can alter the states of consciousness in our being. Like, for example, Rig Veda or Upanishad or the Gita. It quietens us, it deepens us, it heightens us. And that is what Savitri also is capable of doing. And that's why it is creative. It is not just a poem to be read and finished and having no impact on our lives. Savitri has a deep impact on us because of the levels of consciousness from which it has been written, and because of its general overmind influence, because of its psychic nature, because of all the levels of minds that it has incorporated in itself, and the great grand vision that it shows. So Savitri has an impact on our lives. It has a great impact, an unsaid and almost sometimes intangible impact in the beginning, in our being, on our personality. that becomes perhaps tangible after many, many years, but impact there is. So Savitri is a wonderful means of not only Sri Aurobindo's ascension, it is a means of our ascension also.